This episode is brought to you by TaxAct. Don't do your taxes alone. Join TaxAct's National Admin Night. Admin nights are social gatherings for getting through your to-do list. So get ready for a night of fun, finding deductions, and filing taxes with TaxAct, where you can file your federal and state return for just $49 through April 8. Let's get together and get them over with. Visit taxact.com/admin-night for details.
Welcome to The Secret Life of Cookies, where we try to solve the world's problems through the miracle of carbohydrates, one recipe at a time, with host Marissa Rothkopf and her dog, Bosco.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Secret Life of Cookies. Bosco the dog is here at my side, being extremely fluffy and cute after his turn this week as an internet sensation. If you check out my Twitter feed, you'll see what all the fuss was about. And speaking of Twitter feeds, I have the king of Twitter himself, Jeremy Newberger, that's Mr. Newberger to you, who has made the Bird app a great place to be over the past few years, thanks to his humor and gift with snark. He also happens to be an accomplished Emmy-nominated film director. I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I enjoyed making it. You can find the recipe for this episode at my Substack, marissarotkopf.substack.com, and please subscribe. And one quick ask, if you could leave a review of the podcast on Apple, that would be very much appreciated. It helps with that good old algorithm, which means more people can learn about this here podcast. And that means more people knowledgeable about the truth in politics and cookies. On with the show. Hello, and welcome to The Secret Life of Cookies. With me, Mr. Jeremy Newberger. I have been your biggest fan on Twitter since forever. Welcome.
Is it my turn to talk? Well, hello. Thank you.
Yes, you may talk and tell me how to get the chipmunk out of my house. That's what today's show is going to focus on. Just me.
What do they eat? Because I would put whatever they eat in a little trail from your fridge to the front door and see if that works. I'm no exterminator, but that's my move.
I did put one peanut out in front of the refrigerator. It is now gone.
Oh, well, You need more peanuts, it sounds like. You give them one peanut, you teach a man how to fish. There's some expression. I'm not remembering it, but
if you give a chipmunk a peanut, he's going to want some syrup to go with it.
Right. Or like those, I was watching recently those old 1980s Reese's Buttercup commercials, you recall, where a guy's coming down the street with his chocolate and a woman's coming down from the other way with her peanut butter, and they have this meet cute slam into each other, and that's how it was discovered. I don't know if they do ads as good as that one anymore, but that one I'm still thinking about all these years later.
Of course, right. Your peanut butter fell into my chocolate fell into your peanut butter. Your peanut butter got on my chocolate. Two great tastes that go get great together. I must say that every day.
If you watch that commercial now, you'll see it feels like soft porn. It's very suggestive. The music is, as wonka as it can be. And just give it a watch when you have a chance.
I am now adopting the phrase wonka. But for those of you who don't follow Jeremy on Twitter, you should. Not least of which, I mean, aside from being the CEO of your own independent filmmaking company called Ironbound Films, and you make documentaries, including one that I have watched called, I don't mean it as, I haven't watched any of your documentaries. I mean it like the one I watched most recently is from 2013. It is called Evocateur, and it's all about, or really Evocateur, because it's like more Jersey. And it's all about Morton Downey Jr. And there were so many parallels to today, so many sort of foreshadowing towards today in that film. I want to talk about that in a second. But in the meantime, as this is also a show where we bake, I asked you, Mr. Newberger, what do you want to bake? And you had an idea.
I did. I should tell your audience, I told this to you before, that I am a type 2 diabetic. So when you invited me on the show about cookies, I felt like God was punishing me. So I figured, well, why don't we still try and make cookies, but we'll do them the diabetic friendly way. And I have a good recipe for all of you type 1, type 2s out there who can't have sugar. I've recently become a believer in monk fruit. You familiar with what that is?
I am indeed. I have gone through periods in my baking career where I've used a lot of monk fruit to great success, I might add.
Monk fruit, I find, is a great sugar substitute without the chemical taste. And Lakanto is the brand that I chose or choose.
Yeah.
And this cookie recipe today is like almond flour, monk fruit, butter, and sugar-free chocolate chips. So there's nothing in here that I can't eat. And when you're a diabetic, you learn, when you find out you have diabetes, the first thing you think about is all the things you can't eat. And I've been trying to be a forward eater, thinking about the things I can eat. And
I like that.
This is one of them. This became a quick and easy recipe that I'll probably hit this, once a month. There'll be a batch of these cookies in the house. So when I feel like I can't partake in whatever cake my kids are eating, I can whip out one of these cookies and feel the sweetness of monk fruit.
And also like the texture of cookie, right? Like that's sort of an important thing, depending on, there are so many textures of cookie to enjoy. I am a big fan also of almond flour, which I'm quietly playing with here. There should be some wonka wonka music as I quietly fondle the this is me quietly fondling some almond flour,
right?
Because it adds protein and it also adds moisture to a cookie, and it doesn't add much flavor. And I had an entire conversation, and this will be fascinating to every single person in the United States. My car did not start. So I called the AAA, as I have AAA membership, and I got this wonderful guy on the phone. And for some reason, we started talking about recipes. And he said that his partner was going on the keto diet. And I quickly said, oh my gosh, and then launched into a conversation that I'm sure got him fired, because we talked for 10 minutes about keto recipes. And the big deal with keto recipes is using almond flour, right? And
diabetes and keto are very similar restrictions and solutions.
And I use almond flour all the time in chocolate chip cookies. Today, I have not gone the monk fruit route, though. I've gone the coconut sugar route, because there's some people in the world like Marilu Henner, I think, who think, remember Marilu Henner from Taxi? Yes. You're probably a little too young for that, but Taxi, and she had all sorts of crazy.
I watched Taxi.
She had all sorts of crazy theories about, if you eat this first, then you'll lose weight. But if you eat that first, you will not lose weight. And I'm sure she thinks
she could also tell you what she was. She could tell you what she was eating in 1974 on Monday, the 11th of October.
Exactly.
Right? You know, the memory.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. She is like a savant.
Yeah. She's on 60 Minutes in a panel, and she's naming things that she did and when, and she's got superpowers. I wish I had that one.
I know. I wish I had that one too. I think my superpowers are, well, I don't know. So I gave this man back at AAA my keto style brownie recipe, which uses almond flour, and you'd never know by any means. And you could use monk fruit sugar in yours. I think the trick with monk fruit sugar is to always make sure that the moisture level is high in whatever you're baking, because it tends to dry things out. If you made a chocolate mayonnaise cake and substituted monk fruit sugar, you'd be so happy with the results.
Before I stumbled on this cookie recipe, we were making pound cake as the sort of diabetes diagnosis go-to, need some cakey sweetness. And that was almond flour also. And then I found through a few different recipes that the things we were baking all tasted like the pound cake. And that was sort of why I sought out something that was just different feeling. And these cookies were great. They didn't taste like the pound cake. They tasted like cookies. And I use Lily's dark chocolate baking chips.
Yep.
And Wesley Farms makes a nice superfine almond flour. That's what I'll be using today, in addition to my Lakanto.
Perfect. And if any of those companies would like to sponsor this podcast, just call after the show. Thank you.
Well, there's some funny. I asked Lakanto to sponsor me, as an influencer, And they wrote me a lovely letter back that they only sponsor Instagram, Pinterest, the more visual social media. So I said, but wait, I'm Mr. Newberger, the Twitter, phenom. And they said, yeah, that's not kind of our thing. And then, even though I wasn't their target for influencer, they sent me a box of like Blacanto goodies. So I've been through vanilla drops you could put in your water to brownie mixes, cake mixes. My house is fully stocked with Blacanto products after that. Just one tweet. I didn't get the job as an influencer, but I got the goodies. That's the moral of the story. Always ask.
Always ask. Okay, I'm going to get on that. I think that's a great idea. I have followed you. I have laughed and cried along with your tweets about, you sort of held my hand through a lot of the Trump administration. And I appreciate that. This week, though, you may have had your best tweet yet with the picture from the golf course. Would you like to tell people who haven't seen it yet?
I'll give you anyone can just look me up and see this tweet. It's pinned right now. And it seems to have gone viral, but I'll give you like the behind the scenes of a tweet, the anatomy of a tweet. I was eating dinner with my wife and my daughter at a place called the Dog House, a chain of, hot dog, hamburger places. And we were coming back and my daughter insisted on sitting in the front seat of the car, which she's starting to do lately. And I can't argue. It seems to be like maybe her foray into feminism. Why am I in the back seat? Why are the gender roles, all of that. So I kind of was sitting in the back, screwing around. And I kept seeing this photo on all the usual sites that I visit on Twitter. And the photo was of Trump on the golf course in Virginia after an evening flight he took that was sort of a mystery overnight. Where was he going? Was he getting indicted? Was he leaving the country? What was going on? And the picture was him and like 8 or 9 other guys in golf clothes with golf carts, but no golf clubs, which made it even more intriguing. And they were standing around talking, and people were far and wide sending this photo out. And in the car, kind of, the brain starts working. It occurred to me that the picture with him in the middle reminded me of the Last Supper a little bit, and the way they were all kind of laid out. And I came up with the Last Subpoena, which I've captioned the photo. And that has gone viral in ways I never thought anything would, especially not when sitting in the backseat of my own car, coming back from the doghouse. So that's the behind the scenes. And how big and viral has it gone? Like Dan Rather is commenting, saying, nice job, Jeremy, that kind of thing. So it's still growing. It's almost like 100,000 likes and all that. And then what happens, Marissa, after you have a viral tweet, because I've had a few over the course of my Mr. Newberger, Twitter run, is there's a tremendous amount of pressure on what you tweet next, because it's not going to get not even a fraction of the attention. And people who have now joined your following are expecting, this guy's brilliant. What's he going to say next? And it's always sucky. So it's a high and then an immediately sharp downturn into the doldrums of disappointment. So that's where I'm at now. I'm, depressed for having had a viral tweet.
Come on, people, give the guy a break. That's how you can't have the Last Subpoena every day. But you did post pictures of your cat, I noticed, and asked for cat pictures. And that seems to me a really good buffer. You get a lot of lovers of cats in there, a lot of positive cat energy. You got a picture of my cat. I posted a picture of my cat who looks exactly like your cat. It's one of those black fluffy cats. That's like, I'm either gonna kill you in your sleep, or I'm going to love you until you're covered in my drool. That's the way my cat is.
Well, my cat, whose name is appropriate to your show, Cannoli.
Hey,
is really the love of my wife, my 2 children's life. The 4 of us just dote on Cannoli every day. And I can never get enough funny poses out of him. He is just sort of Twitter gold. So when I was feeling the low of what do I do next, I saw him at the end of the bed looking at me. And I said to myself, you know what? Why don't we just get everyone to send cat pictures? How many will that be? Not thinking I was going to have to then go through like 600 cat photos liking, or else people will be like, "Why, you don't like my cat?"
Exactly.
So that's what I did this morning. I woke up with liking people's cat photos. Like, okay, there's buttons, there's mittens. I like it.
I don't think you've liked my cat's photo yet.
All right. So now I'm in dangerous territory because there's a lot of these pictures I have not yet gotten through. People are still sending. So, I'll get to your cat. It's going to take like 3 weeks. So now I have a new job. Liking cat photos.
Exactly. Maybe you can get a sponsorship from Purina.
Right.
Let's start making these cookies, and then we can walk to the other room to get away from the KitchenAid sounds and talk about evocateur a little bit because it's so relevant. Okay, I'm going to turn. So we put in it for the folks playing at home. I've put 3/4 of a cup of butter, which is 1.5 sticks, and some 2/3 of a cup of coconut sugar. And Mr. Newberger is using monk fruit sugar, which if you haven't tried it and you want to try going sugar-free, that I think is your best bet, better than stevia. And I think you'll like it. It has very little aftertaste, doesn't have that weirdo coolness that some of those fake sugars have.
I'm softening my butter right now. I usually will plop it into the microwave, the sticks of butter, just for 30 seconds, just to soften it up because I'm about to put it in the mixer with the sugar, and I want the butter and the sugar to just kind of become a goop.
Very interesting. Melting butter versus beating it can have a completely different impact on a cookie. Can make it very, very thin versus just beating it with sugar. And how long you beat it together with the sugar also impacts chewiness and puffiness and so much because chemistry.
I will never beat my butter. I just can't bring myself to be a butter beater. But I hear you. Maybe I should beat my butter. I don't know what I'm doing. All right. I just plopped the butter down into the mixing bowl, and now I got to measure out the monk fruit. But I noticed that there's some excess butter that didn't come out of the bowl from my microwaving, so I'm going to scoop that real quick. I hope you don't mind me telling you everything I'm doing.
No, that's exciting. It's exciting for everyone.
Think Verizon is expensive? Think again. Anyone can bring their AT&T or T-Mobile bill to a Verizon store today, and we'll give you a better deal. So bring us your bill. Walk in, run in, pogo stick in, teleport if you can. Ride on the back of a rollerblading yak or fly in on the wings of a majestic falcon. Any way you can, bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to a Verizon store today, and we'll give you a better deal on the best network. Based on RootMetrics Best Overall Mobile Network Performance, U.S. second half 2025. All rights reserved. Must provide very recent postpaid consumer mobile bill in the name of the person redeeming the deal. Additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Yeah, I'm going to try and, should I do it like Walter Cronkite, like reporting like a blimp crash or something? Like, this is a crazy day in the Newberger kitchen. Butter has melted after being beaten to a pulp, and now sugar substitute will be added. A day that will live in infamy. I have to pay attention, though, to how much monk fruit I'm putting in. You said you put 2/3 of a cup in yours?
Yeah, because I followed your recipe.
Yeah, so I will do the same. So
I can tell you, folks, that the monk fruit, a lovely white-looking substance, which he promises me is really not sugar and really is monk fruit, is now going into his beater. We shall now retreat to the other room as the mixing starts.
So I put the sweetener, the monk fruit into the butter, and I put the mixer on. That just needs to go for, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes. So we'll step out away from the loud mixer. I'll tell you something. What I learned about monk fruit is it's a Southeast Asian fruit that they kind of extract the sweetness from, and it's 200 times sweeter than sugar. So the brands that sell monk fruit sugar are actually diluting the monk fruit with a sugar alcohol, non-sugar sugar alcohol that they've tested and said is not going to kill you. I think it's called xylitol, something like that. It says it on the package. So the combination of that sugar alcohol, which is only 40% sweet, with the 200% sweetness of the monk fruit, ends up being this granular sugar substitute that tastes just the right sweetness. And they also sell this stuff in powdered form and brown sugar form. So I'm pretty much covered. There's a baking monk fruit. There's a put in your coffee monk fruit. And then there's the, put on top of your brownies powdered monk fruit. I see that the mixture has mixed. Now I have my sweetener and butter mixture. Do you have yours as well?
I'm just walking back into the noisy kitchen.
There's kind of this combination that has to happen where you assemble all of your dry stuff and all your wet stuff, and you mix them together, and that's when you're creating your cookie batter. I am now taking 2 eggs out of the refrigerator. Thank God we have eggs. That was the one thing I didn't ask my wife. Hey, do we have eggs? Which, why would I ask my wife? Because she does the shopping. I don't do the shopping. So I do have eggs, so we're in good shape, and I'm coming back. But what you really want to do is you're going to mix the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients. And
this is an absolutely classic chocolate chip recipe, save for monk fruit.
Yeah. We're not really recreating the wheel here, but I suggest that we're combining the dry and wet ingredients together, and it's like you're combining old framed fake Time magazine picture covers with nuclear secrets of your favorite allies. It's kind of like doing that. So that is what now I need to focus on as I put my egg mixture together. So allow me to crack some eggs.
I have made a lot of cookies in my life. I mean, I have a podcast called The Secret Life of Cookies, right? You'd think that I've been doing this. I have never heard it described as putting the old Time magazines together with nuclear
secrets of your allies.
Yeah, I've never heard that. And now I think that's really all I'm going to talk about. And I'm doing this old school because that sort of amuses me. And I'm mixing in my eggs with a wooden spoon. Talk to me a little bit about if you can do, I'm sure you can multitask. We're going to cast our mind back.
I'm not only cooking and doing this podcast, but I'm also painting the kitchen while I'm doing it. So I am
true.
Why step at 2 things?
Exactly.
But go on,
he's also learning Spanish using Babbel.
Right.
I want to talk about your most recent film at some point, but I think your film Evocateur about Mort Downey Jr. is so relevant to where we find ourselves today. When so 2013, you make this, or 2012, I mean, I don't know how long it took you to make it. You make this documentary. It's all about the life of the literal loudmouth talk show host who sort of broke the mold, in the 80s, attack talk television, I guess.
Right.
And he made a really big name for himself. It ends up being sort of a very sad story, but on his show, on his show and then in your documentary, we start seeing all these people that we will then see again later, like Judge Napolitano and Howard McCain, may he rest in peace. We see you even interviewed Alan Dershowitz. And I want to quote him. I want to quote him from your film.
By the way, he was wearing his pants when I interviewed him.
I was just going to ask you. The oldies, the goodies.
There was no happy ending to our interview. We left his co-op in Miami, and it will never
you got out of there. That's good.
Yeah.
But Prince Andrew, on the other, no, he said, and this is just glorious that it came out of his mouth. There are no repercussions from making yourself look like a fool on talk television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And do you think he still believes that statement?
I don't know if he believes it still, but he'll definitely say it still. I think the guy was a little demystified for me. I have to say that when I was young, I was watching the Morton Downey Jr. show, and Alan Dershowitz was a frequent guest, and he would stand up to racists and anti-Semites. So when Alan Dershowitz says something like that, back then, I didn't think twice about it. I just, believed. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, he's a hero. But he's proven himself to be quite the opposite, hasn't he?
Exactly. I had this same sort of come to Jesus, as it were, about him. And the other person who features very prominently in Mort Downey Jr.'s talk show is Mr. Al Sharpton, the Reverend Al Sharpton, who, it's as if he went into the witness protection. It's as if he went into witness protection, right? And he came out a completely changed man.
I guess for your audience's sake, there was this guy, Steve Pagonis, who, among 3 others, was accused of raping a young black teenager in Wappinger Falls. And not only raping, but smearing racial epithets on her body with feces, this terrible, terrible accusation and crime up in upstate New York. And then it eventually came out that the girl did this to herself. And Al Sharpton and a few other lawyers, Vernon Maddox and Mason's name, like Aldous, I can't remember the names anymore.
Mason.
Maddox, Mason, Sharpton. They became sort of the de facto.
Alton Maddox. I remember that one.
Alton Maddox, right. They became the de facto faces of Tawana Brawley, which is the name of the young lady's side of the story. And Sharpton himself would go on Morton Downey Jr.'s show. And it was almost like they were doing a performative ballet, with Sharpton saying she was raped, and with Morton Downey sort of questioning the story, or at least taking advantage of the story. I think Roy Innis, who was the African-American conservative organization called CORE leader, he was known for two things back then. One was being the guy that threw the chair, I think, at the skinhead that broke Geraldo's nose. And the other was pushing Al Sharpton over on his fat ass on the stage of the Apollo during a Morton Downey Jr. show. And I actually was able to get Roy Innis to come to our Harlem screening of Evocateur when it played the theater up in Harlem, which was really cool. Roy Innis, when I picked him up to come to the theater, he was like a frail old man who had a stroke, so it was very difficult for him to speak. And I had programmed a night where we watched the film, and then he and MSNBC's analyst at the time, Torre, would discuss the film and race issues. And the audience was very angry with Roy Innis, and were just screaming, and he couldn't defend himself anymore. He was just sort of a frail old shell of the man he was. Back then, he was this towering giant willing to fight with Ku Klux Klan guys and Al Sharpton. This film had a lot of guys from the political stratosphere, and some of them did migrate into current day. Ron Paul was one of them, not Rand Paul, but his father, Ron Paul. Right. A very embarrassing appearance on the Morton Downey Jr. show, which we show in the film, where Mort sort of eviscerates him and, says, if we had slime like you in the White House, I'd puke on him or something like that.
That's exactly what he says.
I've heard the clip in my head so many times. So I'll tell you the reason. Well, first of all, I must, or else we'll never have anything cooked. I'm now going to put the almond flour, baking soda, and salt, and I guess, Marissa, you'll provide measurements to your audience.
I will, and you can always find the recipe on my Substack, marissaroadkopf.com, and there'll always be a link in Twitter somewhere. But it's 3 cups of almond flour, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and a half a teaspoon of kosher salt, plus a whole bunch of sugar-free chocolate chips. For me, I'm using a vegan chocolate chip from the company that's called Who, and they're 70% cacao. So I'm not going totally T2 diabetic, but I am going sort of more healthier take on the cookie, which I think many of the people who listen to me will be like, thank God, Marissa. Jesus, are you okay? You eat so many sweets.
I usually let the batter mix, the wet and the dry before I add the chips. But when you add the chips, it's very important. You're going to want to bury the chocolate chips nice and deep into the batter, almost like you're burying top secret documents in your first wife's golf course sarcophagus. So get them nice and deep and buried.
Now, Jeremy, that seems to me a bit of a far-fetched concept. Who was it? Somebody on Twitter was like, it only took 8 people to carry the Queen's lead-lined coffin, or 6 or whatever, and it took 10 to carry Ivana's? How did that happen?
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
And she was a slip of a woman.
Yeah,
okay, she was tiny. At this point in the adventure of podcasting, we will take a quick break and then transition to the special for subscribers only section of the podcast, in which we reveal incredible secrets about the future and humanity and the winning lottery ticket numbers. So please stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining me and my guest, Jeremy Newberger, on The Secret Life of Cookies this week. You can follow Jeremy on Twitter at Mr. Newberger, and I'll post the recipe in my Substack, marissaroadkopf.substack.com. Thanks, and have a great week.